Hello YouTube, welcome back to Bald Man Building an Airplane. We're continuing today with the control sticks. So what has been done on these is they were both cut down by, I think I said 3/4 of an inch each, so that way there's no interference with the concentric knobs on the bottom of the G3X. That was checked after they were cut, just briefly. Or maybe checked it after I did this initial fit. But you can see I also opened up the hole that they have you drill just a little bit to get all those wires through. Now, turns out that wasn't necessary because of something you'll see in a few minutes. But yeah, and then here what we're doing is these grips stay stationary on the stick with a set screw. So I just ground a little flat spot right where the set screw sits, so that way it can be tightened and the grip won't come loose. So yeah, this wire that it comes with is pretty freaking big and unruly and unnecessary, as you'll see later. But yeah, I did have to pull that through to do these tests. Grind again another little flat spot, just big enough for the set screw. Hit it with a little bit of a primer to clean it up, and then clean up the other one because I accidentally sprayed it with a little bit of paint. It's all good. That sounds good. Got these grips and wires. The wires come out over here, and they need to go down there somewhere. So Vans suggests using some 10-pin micro Molex, but I've sworn off micro Molex. So what we're gonna do is make, oh my god, I got something all over this stupid board. Let's make an adapter plate to put this here. Let's get to work. All right, so we're gonna take a bunch of metal and we're gonna transfer some measurements that I took off of the control column onto a couple of pieces of metal, make something the size that I need it to be to hold this DB9 connector. I did this, I think I had to do this twice because I made a mistake in not including the measurements I needed for the line of rivets to sort of hold the whole thing together. I guess now that I think about it, those rivets may not have been necessary, but you'll see it at the end. The point is that the rivets are gonna hold it together at the bottom, and it's going to have a couple of them in where the other connector was going to go. These two things don't have to be pretty. They're just they're just meant to hold those DB9 connectors. What else did I say about those? Oh, I couldn't find any small rivets. Kind of amazing. That's far along in a build, and I don't have like short AN 470 AD3-4 rivets just sitting around. They're just, I guess, not very common in the build, and I didn't have any reason to order extra, so I just didn't have any sitting around to do that. And we're going to transfer, basically, you know, I did the initial dimensions, but it didn't end up, you know, putting the hole for the DB9 connector on there. So now we're just going to use the step drill to start it, and no, that doesn't work very well because, you know, there's no way you're going to be able to hold that thing in place on the table if you're trying to drill those big holes out. I ended up trying a couple other things, and then we're going to use the Dremel here to sort of shape it out to the shape that I drew on the other side. You can't see it on this side, obviously, but it's definitely still there, and that is a lot of aluminum dust. Yeah, let's get it cleaned up. as you can see, it's not perfect, but it was pretty effective. And so we'll file this down, get a final fit, and then get to the second one. All right, so I've got these made, 2 of them. I'll say that when you want to shape something nicely, and I didn't even do a very good job on these because they're not cosmetic. It just needs to have a nice hole approximately the right size. This Dremel tungsten carbide bit, that's the 9901 HP, works really well for that. Makes a lot of noise, makes a lot of really fine dust, so definitely wear glasses, probably wear a mask. And maybe wear some hearing protection too. But here, we're going to mix up some JB Weld and get this thing in place. Could use like epoxy and flux, but the JB Weld is meant for metal, I guess. I don't know. That's what some people say. People put it on car stuff and it lasts forever. Here's where we're going to apply it. I'm going to put some goop in there. And it's just going to sit there. I'm going to come back in a few days and drill the holes through and rivet it in place. And then it's back to the sticks. So these came from, again, Pioneer control grips. These are their 3D printed models. The wire that comes out of here, as you can see, it's really thick. It's got like a PCV coating or something on there. And it's also got 12 wires that come out of the stick grip. Most of them only use 9. I mean, I got buttons. I guess if you had some sort of like up-down toggle switch, you could probably have another wire. But yeah, just using 9 here. So I would cut off the other 3, tape them out, and we're gonna just sort of put those aside. So what we're using here is 1/4 inch PET expandable sleeving. You can get it on Amazon. Wire sleeve, I think, is what you might find it under if you search. I just decided that doing that is still going to protect the wires, and it's going to be more flexible. And I'm also using it down below where the stick meets the, or where the wires traverse the, like in the floor underneath the seat there. See how boring this is? I guess it's just as bad as deburring, right? When you get to this stage in an airplane build, or this deep in a wiring process, sometimes you do miss the mundane of deburring 20,000 holes. You know, cut, strip, crimp, cut, strip, crimp, cut, strip, crimp, and then put them in the sockets based on what the diagram says. And so we'll talk about the diagrams right now. All right. I've been spending a lot of time lately doing wiring and documentation of wiring. And documenting your wiring, or how you think you might do it beforehand, is super handy, because then you get to something like this control grip, where I've wired it up and put pins on, and now I've like, okay, which pin goes in which part of the connector. Cool, this is super easy. I just follow the diagram that I made. I'm using WireViz, which is a Python program. I would definitely say it's not for everybody. If you're at all computer inclined, I would highly recommend it, because you kind of know what you're getting into there. But if not, it could be quite daunting. Basically, what you do is it's a software, or whether it's an open source piece of software, that is meant to allow you to document wiring harnesses. And what you do is you define your harnesses in code. These are YAML files, YAML. And as you're defining them in code, you define your wires, your connectors, all those sorts of things. And they're defined in text. And then all you do is you run this little script and it generates the diagram like this. This is only part of a diagram, but it does get generated automatically because you document the connectors and what's connected to what and blah, 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 blah. So it's pretty cool. Like I said, if you're at all inclined into either learning or computer inclined, definitely check it out. So the documentation from Pioneer Control Grip says that the gray wire is push to talk. I had tested it before. Maybe I wrote it wrong when I did the diagram, but that's okay. So let's see. Ground is input. This should be white output. Good. So that is actually push to talk. Cool. The really cool thing about this is now I can go back into the software, or rather into my configuration file, and change one thing and it updates it everywhere. It's a cascade sort of thing. And so that's kind of the cool thing about documenting it as code. All right, so brown is 6. And then we go red, pink, white. Red, pink, gray. I'll have to make sure that's white. I probably just wrote it wrong. Red. Pink. White. All right. All right, now let's take you over and show how this should work out. What I've got here is a DB9 male, and I've made an adapter here that goes onto the stick, or rather the control column, I guess this is technically called. It's safety wired on, so it won't go down. So what we'll do is we're just going to connect this like this. And I think I'll just zip tie it right there. What we'll do is a safety wire those two holes through into the adapter and the back as well. So that way you just, if you need to pull it out, clip, clip, quick removal if you need. I guess I should add the way I'm adding this because I was questioning this myself. The way I've run the cable down is just down. It'll run between the two nuts that stick out there, and then it's zip tied to a little holder on the ground, or on the floor. So that way I get nice full motion without any sort of rubbing or, flex the wire too much. And the black PET will protect it if there is any sort of chafing. Plus it's all really easy to inspect at inspection time. There you go.